Hey all, producing this episode of Pickin for Progress was a tremendous honor. I got to sit down with Pastor Wesley Morris of Faith Community Church and the legendary Reverend Nelson Johnson. On November 3rd, 1979, Reverend Johnson survived the Greensboro massacre, in which armed Nazis and members of the KKK, in collusion with the Greensboro Police Department, murdered 5 people who were peacefully protesting in defense of textile workers' rights. Since that time, Reverend Johnson has worked tirelessly to help his community heal and was instrumental in the formation of the first International Truth and Reconciliation Commission in the United States. We have to know the ground we're standing on here in North Carolina, and Greensboro has a lot to teach us.
I grew up in a rural Baptist church, and people would come in from the fields. Most of the people were sharecroppers, and they would sing, "Hold on, just a little while longer. Hold on, just a little while longer. Hold on, just a little while longer. Everything's gonna be all right." And that had a lot of meaning to me.
Wesley, you just took over as pastor of the Faith Community Church in 2018, and you took over for Reverend Johnson.
Yeah.
How have you woven in the transmission of wisdom from your elders into the work that you're doing now and into the future?
The long train of history bears itself out right now in this moment as we're doing our work in this generation. Who we become is linked to our community, and that goes for elders speaking their wisdom of their experiences, and also for their ears to hear what folks are saying now. I think young folks have a great deal of energy and wisdom themselves. Having elders around to continue to help you hear and see the society that you're a part of makes all the difference in the world.
It goes both ways.
It has to, or there would be a loss.
Reverend Johnson, in this painting behind us, a younger version of yourself is being thrown to the ground by the police. Could you talk a little bit about what place and time this was?
This was November 3rd, 1979. People were dying as I was being arrested, all around, laying down. I was one of the few people who absolutely knew we were set up. I had applied for a parade permit. They did give me the parade permit, but forced me to sign that we would not be armed. I argued with our group that I did not think the Klan and Nazis would be coming because I thought the police would be there. It had not occurred to me that they would give this parade permit to the Klan and then stay away from the march. After all the shooting was finished, that's when they showed up. So when they came screaming in, I was standing up saying, with all the emotions that that moment commanded to come out of me, this could not have happened without the collusion of the police. Their first thing was, "Shut up." I said, "I'm not going to shut up." At that point, they arrested me. They wrestled me to the ground. I had been stabbed by a Nazi through the arm. I was put in jail. They did not give me a bond that night because they said I was too dangerous. When this thing is organized by them, and nobody tells that story.
You can't really lead a city if you're not honest about that city's past or its history. And that's true of Greensboro. The community truth and reconciliation process that happened here has been barely acknowledged in its fullness by the leadership here. So you can't really truly lead when you have not honestly taken a full account of a real traumatic event in the history of the city.
The Greensboro Massacre.
The Greensboro Massacre. Local issues are the closest to the people that are experiencing them. And an example of what we've experienced as a nation around the question of police violence and the life of, and the name George Floyd most recently, Breonna Taylor and others that are being publicly acknowledged nationally. Locally, we have the very same issues here. In Greensboro, North Carolina, the killing of Marcus Dion Smith, a young man who was experiencing homelessness here in this city, was essentially hogtied and killed within police custody here. And that's an issue that happened here in Greensboro. And there are people who are organizing and lifting up their voices and putting their bodies on the line, saying that we're not asking for more than the right to life, the right to live.
Reverend Johnson, this year in 2020, the Black Lives Matter movement has come into the foreground in American media. What does that movement in 2020 mean to you?
It's joy to see this kind of resistance energy coming up out of the population affirming that Black Lives Matter. It matters that children get sufficient food to eat. It matters that health care is available to all. It matters that police are not biased and killing people. And it has always mattered. We met last week outside in the backyard where the young leaders of the Black Lives Matter movement sat down, and I said, think of yourself as a stream. What if we help those streams flow into each other? That would be a river, and a river has power. If the river wants to get to the ocean, it doesn't have to ask permission. It has enough power to carve a highway.
As we organize for changes in policies locally, systemic poverty is a very real issue. Systemic racism is an issue, and environmental racism, and more money being given to paramilitary forces, such as local law enforcement or the war machine itself in the national context.
Could you talk about your efforts to getting out the vote this year and the importance that these elections have on changing Greensboro?
The need to vote is part of the responsibility that we have of being in this community, and not to just vote for whoever sounds the best or is the most charismatic, but do the deep work of being a community and saying, this is what the community's position is. This is what the community's issues are.
I do see the potential for this good energy to come together, to use John Lewis's term, how about some good trouble, and really reshape the direction of the nation. I'm betting on that, I'm hoping on that, but I don't deny the possibility of it not happening. And at the end of the day, it really depends on us. One of the ways Dr. King talked about hope is the final refusal to give up. That you still believe that in spite of, we can make a way out of no way, which is what the old slaves used to say. Pray on just a little bit longer. Push on just a little bit longer. Vote on just a little bit longer. Believe on just a little bit longer. Hope on just a little bit longer. So let's hold on to that hope. Let's keep on pedaling, keep on pushing. Pray on just a little bit longer and believe that everything is going to be all right.